Hi, I'm Russ Larson. Today we're going to talk about the Parablaster pressure pot system. A couple things to look for if it's not working right. So here we have our pressure pot system. The very first thing you need to look at if your pressure pot's not working right is moisture. First of all, we got to get the moisture controlled. That's about 80% of the problems with sandblasting is directly related to moisture. You have to keep moisture out of your sand. Otherwise it won't be able to travel through the tiny openings to get out and onto your project. So a little bit of moisture in your sand will cause you big problems. Second most frequent problem is not enough air pressure. You need 100 psi going to your pinch cylinder in order to pinch off the line. This black braided tubing is coming through the black block on the bottom of the hose, and this cylinder is using air pressure to actually physically pinch the line. So a lot of times people will say, hey, I'm only sandblasting at 40 psi, I'll turn my compressor down to 40 psi. But you can't do that. You need 100 psi coming into your cylinder in order to pinch off the line. So we want to make sure 100 psi is coming in. The regulator will regulate your air down to 40 going to your handpiece, but you need the full 100 coming to the cylinder. So double check that you have the pressure set at 100 on your compressor, and then you regulate your air down on your regulator gauge here to the 40 psi or 40 or 45, whatever you're blasting at. But make sure you have 100 psi coming out of your compressor to the pinch cylinder. Another problem that people sometimes run into, especially after they've had their system for a while, is the pinch cylinder not closing the air off all the way. You'll let go of your foot control and a little bit of sand will still flow through the handpiece. It won't shut off all the way, so I'm going to show you now how you can stop that. First of all, realize that the black braided tubing is coming through the block and the pinch cylinder is pinching it. Black braided tubing will get hard over time. I would recommend replacing that at least once a year. You can try also moving it to a different spot in the block, so actually just pull it through the block so the pinch cylinder is pinching at a different place in the hose. You might find a softer spot, but if you're running into that problem, you need to replace your length of black tubing. It will get brittle hard over time. Next thing is the pinch cylinder just threads into this block, so we're going to show you how to remove it and make sure it's clean and working properly. The first thing we're going to do to get our pinch cylinder out of the block, this might be a slightly different model. This is our newest model here. Yours will be very similar. Your block may be facing a different direction. Your cylinder is probably a little smaller diameter. This is a new improvement we just made to the Parablaster. But yours will be very similar to this. So first thing I'm going to do is remove the tubing from the back of the cylinder. Just pulling back on the lock ring and pulling our tubing straight out to get it out of the way from our foot control. And then we're going to thread the cylinder out of the block. Just standard left-hand threads, and I'm just unthreading the cylinder out of the block. A lot of times just loosening the cylinder a quarter turn will change the angle inside the block and it'll free it up, and a lot of times that'll work. But if you have to, you can continue to thread it all the way out to clean it. Okay, now we have our cylinder out of the block. We have our tip on the end of here. You'll want to make sure your tip's in good condition. We've used a couple different ones over the year. Just make sure whatever tip you have isn't cracked or broke. We can then make sure our tubing slides through the block. Good. And we'll just take an air nozzle. And for this video I'm not going to do it, but we'll just take an air nozzle and blow in the holes. What this is a machine T that allows the cylinder to pinch on the hose. So all we'll do is make sure that our block's cleaned out. We'll blow air through it, make sure it's cleaned out, clean off our tip, and then all we'll do is we'll thread it back into the block. So I'll finish threading the cylinder back into the block, and then I'll take my tubing and just push it back into my push to connect fitting, and I'm ready to go again. Again, you might not have to take the cylinder all the way out. You might just have to loosen it just a little bit to free it up if it gets stuck in there. But it's a good idea to screw it out of the block, blow air through it, and make sure that's cleaned out.